Obi, 26, was the only child of Chief Kenneth Obi, a powerful business magnate in Enugu City, and Lady Amara Obi, a high society philanthropist known for her elegance and sharp tongue. From birth, Amara's life had been a carefully curated display of wealth and influence. Private jets, designer wardrobes, luxury cars, and extravagant galas were her norm. Yet behind the glittering facade, her heart ached with loneliness. Despite the adoration of the media and the admiration of many, Amara had always felt unseen love not for who she was, but for the name she carried. The men she dated lavished her with compliments and grand gestures, but their eyes always lingered too long on her last name, too little on her soul. Her friends, ever present during shopping sprees or champagne brunches, vanished whenever she showed vulnerability. Shatters, the final straw came during a formal dinner at their mansion in Independence Layout, where her father tried to introduce her to a man he called perfect for you, Kelvin Eza, a rising businessman with charm but hollow intentions. As Kelvin spoke endlessly about his latest ventures and expensive acquisitions, he never once asked Amara a personal question. That night, Amara sat alone on the balcony of their mansion, staring into the lights of Enugu and feeling imprisoned by everything others envied. "I want to be known. I want to be loved for me," she whispered to the stars. The next morning, during breakfast in the grand dining hall, she made her declaration. "Daddy, Mummy, I need to leave. I need to go somewhere no one knows who I am." Her words dropped like thunder in the marbled silence. Lady Amara choked on her tea. "Leave? To where? And do what? Sweep streets?" "I want to live simply. Work. Earn. Just for a while," Amara said, her voice trembling but firm. "Amara, the world is not kind to women like you," her mother warned. "You're sheltered. Soft. But I am not happy, Mum, and I want to find someone who sees me beyond Obi Group shares and gala appearances." Her father, Chief Kenneth, was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "If you must go, then go. But with one condition. If after this journey you still haven't found what you're looking for, you will return and meet the man I believe is truly worthy of you." Amara agreed. Little did she know the man he spoke of was Chinedu Okafor, a brilliant tech billionaire they had never managed to properly introduce to her. That evening, Amara packed a small suitcase with only simple clothes, no makeup kits, no luxury accessories. Her Range Rover was left behind. With a borrowed bag and a hoodie pulled over her head, she boarded a public bus to Ogwashi Town, a modest town hours away from Enugu. As the bus rumbled down dusty roads, her heart raced not with fear, but anticipation. She was leaving behind a world of marble floors and butlers for street vendors and real people. Her journey had begun not just across miles, but into the unknown corners of her own identity. Ogwashi Town was unlike anything Amara Obi had ever known. The streets buzzed with traders hawking wares, children darted between danfos, and the air carried the scent of roasted plantain, dust, and life. Here, no one bowed to her name. Here, she was just Amara, another girl, looking for a fresh start. She found a one-room apartment above a tailor shop. It was small, a narrow bed, one creaking fan, and a window with no curtains. But it was hers. And for the first time in her life, she slept without a housekeeper drawing her blinds or a guard patrolling the gates. Amara knew she couldn't live on her savings if she was serious about this journey. After days of walking the town, knocking on doors and asking around, she found Mama Uju's Kitchen, a bustling roadside diner, famous for its spicy pepper soup and warm jollof. Mama Uju, a round woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a sharp tongue, looked Amara up and down before speaking. "You want to serve food with those soft hands? This is not Instagram worko." "I can do it," Amara replied, her voice calm but firm. Mama Uju gave her a skeptical nod. "You start tomorrow. We'll see how long you last." The work was grueling. From dawn till dusk, Amara scrubbed plates, took orders, and juggled trays through crowds of hungry Akata men, civil servants, and schoolchildren. Her legs ached, her fingers blistered, but something strange happened. She began to smile. She laughed with customers. She shared stories with other workers. For once, her days felt real. And then Kelvin Ease walked in. Amara had noticed him earlier, a charming construction worker who often came for lunch in his dusty jeans and bright smile. He was kind, funny, and always tipped well. One day he stayed longer. "You're not like the other girls," Kelvin said, stirring his Fanta with a straw. "You carry yourself like someone with secret." Amara chuckled, caught off guard. "Maybe I do." They began spending time together after work, evening strolls along the stream at the edge of town, quiet conversations about dreams and disappointments. Kelvin spoke of hardship, of hustling his way through life with no handouts. Amara found herself drawn to him. He never asked about her past. He never looked at her with expectations. When he asked her on a proper date to a local suya spot under the stars, she agreed, her heart fluttering for the first time in years. Weeks passed, and their bond deepened. Amara felt seen, or so she thought. Then the cracks began to show. "Babe," Kelvin said one night, his voice low, "I need a little help. Just 10,000 naira. I'll pay back by Friday." It was a small thing, she told herself, and she gave it. Then came more requests. "My brother is sick. My tools got stolen. I'll pay you back." Each time, Amara handed over money, uneasy but hopeful. Until one afternoon, as she finished her shift and stepped into the alley behind Mama Uju's, she heard laughter. Kelvin, on the phone. She paused in the shadows, listening. "I swear, guy, she dey fall well. Now that rich girl from Enugu Chief Obi's daughter. Imagine the idiot dey work as waitress now. Mumu love." Amara's heart stopped. The tray in her hand dropped with a crash. Kelvin turned. Their eyes met. "You knew?" she whispered. Kelvin froze. "Wait, Amara, let me explain." But she was already backing away, the world spinning around her. Betrayed. Again. Used again. That night, Amara sat in her tiny room, staring at the worn ceiling. She had left behind a world that suffocated her, only to be hunted by someone who saw her not for who she was, but what she had. Her suitcase came out once more. Ogwashi had failed her. Tomorrow she would leave, not to return to wealth, but to find a place where no one could trace her. Somewhere far quieter, more hidden. Somewhere her heart could finally heal. Amara Obi arrived in Umoma village just after sunrise. The rickety bus dropped her by a dusty roadside flanked by cassava fields and narrow footpaths. Chickens scattered around her as she stepped down, suitcase in hand, heart still wounded from the betrayal in Ogwashi. Umoma was different. It wasn't just small, it was quiet, watching, intimate. Every passerby greeted the other by name. Children ran barefoot with slates and baskets. Women fetched water from the stream, and elders sat under trees reading newspapers from 3 weeks ago. It was exactly what she needed. She rented a modest room in the compound of Mama Ogechi, a widowed cloth weaver with kind eyes and a sharp tongue. The room was simple, cement floor, rusting iron bed frame, and a curtain instead of a door. But it offered something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Amara knew she had to work to survive, and this time, she was even more determined to stay invisible. No more trust, no more stories, just work in solitude. One afternoon, as she wandered the dusty paths looking for work, she spotted a handwritten sign outside a small supermarket. Salesgirl needed inquire within asked for Mr. Paul. Inside, she found a tidy shop with narrow aisles stacked with gari, Maggi cubes, and canned milk. Mr. Paul, a lean man in his 50s with thoughtful eyes, was restocking biscuits behind the counter. He looked Amara over and asked a few simple questions. She kept her story straight. Orphan, finished secondary school, drifting from town to town. He nodded slowly. "You can start tomorrow. Just don't come late. I don't tolerate laziness." It was there, behind that faded counter, that Amara met Chika Nwosu, the other salesgirl. Chika was bubbly, loud, and full of dreams, far too big for Umoma. She was in her early 20s, had an obsession with shiny wigs, and an endless supply of gossip. On Amara's first day, Chika welcomed her like an old friend. "You'll like it here, Shah," she said, handing Amara a broom. "Just don't fall for any of these local boys. They're all struggling." Chika quickly took to Amara, dragging her into conversations during lunch breaks. They would sit behind the shop and talk while peeling boiled groundnuts. Chika often talked about her dream man, the Chief Nonsombai, the wealthiest man in the village. He's not like the others, she'd say. 4-bedroom bungalow, solar panels, generator that runs all day. Amara would smile politely, never revealing that she had grown up surrounded by more wealth than Chika could ever imagine. I just need to escape this village, Chika sighed one evening. Some of us were born to wear lace and fly to Dubai, not sell Indomie in hot sun. Amara nodded, understanding more than Chika knew. She too had once longed to escape, but now she was running from everything, from recognition, from love, from herself. Despite her guardedness, Amara found comfort in the quiet of Umuma. She found rhythm in wiping shelves, weighing rice, and greeting old women who came to buy soap and sugar. No one asked where she came from. No one looked at her with suspicion. Until Chief Nonsomba walked in. He was tall, well-fed, and always dressed in flamboyant outfits that screamed rich man. He carried himself with an air of entitlement and always spoke just a little too loudly. The villagers revered him. Chika adored him. "Morning, sir," Chika called one afternoon, straightening her top and batting her lashes. Chief Nonso's eyes landed instead on Amara. "You're new," he said, stepping close. "What's your name?" "Amara," she replied, avoiding eye contact. "Beautiful name. You're not from this village. I'd remember that face." Amara said nothing, just smiled politely. As he walked away, Chika's gaze sharpened. "Be careful with that one," she muttered. "He likes shiny new things." But Amara wasn't worried about Chief Nonso. She was used to unwanted attention. What she feared was the life she'd left behind finding her again. Still in this tiny village of secrets and gossip, fate was quietly aligning her path with someone she never expected. Someone who would walk into her life like a whisper on the wind, not with wealth or words, but with quiet strength. His name was Chinedu Okafor. But that moment was still waiting in the shadows. The sun was dipping low over Umoma village, casting golden light across the dusty paths. Amara had just closed up the shop for the day. The market buzz was winding down, and the laughter of children echoed in the background as they played barefoot football near the roadside. She stepped outside to stretch when a shout pierced the air. "Balde, come!" Amara turned just in time to see the ball flying toward her. But before she could react, someone rushed forward. Strong arms caught her, pulling her away from the impact. She stumbled not into the ground, but into a chest, firm and warm. For a moment, everything paused. When she looked up, her eyes met his deep brown, intense but kind. His face was dusted with sweat from the heat of the day, and his breath was steady despite the sudden movement. "You all right?" he asked, still holding her steady. Yes," she stammered, a little breathless. "I didn't mean to grab you like that," he said, releasing her quickly with a small, embarrassed smile. "Just didn't want you to get knocked out by that ball." "Thank you," she managed, brushing herself off. "I'm Chinedu," he said, extending his hand. "Amara." Their handshake lingered just a moment too long before they both let go, slightly flustered. Chinedu nodded toward the kids. "They play here every evening. Can't miss it." With a wave, he turned and walked off down the path. Amara stood watching him go, her heart unexpectedly fluttering. There was something different about him, grounded, gentle. Over the next few days, fate kept bringing them together. At the market, at the stream, in front of the shop. Chinedu always had a calm presence, not loud like Chief Nonso, not flashy like Kelvin. He listened when he spoke. He smiled with his eyes. They began to talk. About nothing. About everything. Amara learned he was a construction worker, temporarily living in the village to supervise a rural telecommunications installation project. He worked with his hands, ate local food, and rode an old motorcycle that sputtered with every uphill turn. Yet there was grace in how he carried himself, like he didn't need to prove anything to anyone. One evening, they sat on a bench beneath a mango tree, watching the sunset paint the sky in fiery strokes. "You don't talk much about yourself," Chinedu said softly. Amara hesitated. There's not much to say. Just a girl trying to start over. Chinedu didn't press. Starting over isn't always a bad thing. Amara turned to him, studying his face. You're different, he chuckled. Good different or strange different? Both, she smiled. That smile stayed with Chinedu long after he left her that night. What Amara didn't know was that Chinedu Okafor was no ordinary construction worker. Behind his quiet strength was a world she had tried to escape, a man hiding from expectations, status, and the same emptiness that had haunted her. But for now, neither of them knew the truth about the other. They were just Amara and Chinedu, two people finding comfort in simplicity, unaware of how deep their stories were about to intertwine. And in the shadows of the village, Chika Nwosu watched, her laughter forced, her eyes sharp. Because she had noticed too that Chief Nonso had turned cold, and Chinedu was beginning to see Amara in a way that no one else had. The days in Umoma village grew warmer, and so did the connection between Amara Obi and Chinedu Okafor. Their conversations became longer, their silences more comfortable. They'd walk the quiet paths by the river, share roasted corn by the roadside, and laugh over village gossip, a kind of laughter Amara hadn't known in years. Chinedu didn't talk about money. He didn't try to impress her, and that, more than anything, drew Amara to him. She began to let her guard down, her heart slowly stitching itself back together. But the more they grew close, the more Chika Nwosu simmered. At the supermarket, Chika's friendliness grew strained. She no longer laughed as freely and started making sharp remarks. Amara, she said one afternoon, stacking loaves of bread a little too aggressively. So you and Chinedu now take evening walks like husband and wife. Must be nice to date someone with nothing to offer. Amara blinked, caught off guard. He's a good man, Chika. Chika scoffed. Good doesn't pay bills. Let's see how long that lasts when reality sets in. That evening, Chika sat under the almond tree near the junction and waited, her eyes fixed on the compound down the street. When Chief Nonso Mba passed by in his SUV, she flagged him down. I need to talk to you, she said. He arched a brow, but parked. I warned you about that girl, Chika said, leaning into the window. Now she's everywhere with that construction man, Chinedu. They whisper like lovers. Chief Nonso's jaw clenched. She thinks she's above me? That girl with no name? Chika leaned in. Maybe she's not who we think she is. The words hung in the air. Meanwhile, Amara and Chinedu sat beside the stream as fireflies danced around them. The sky was deep blue, stars just beginning to pierce the darkness. Chinedu turned to her, his voice quieter than usual. I need to tell you something. Amara felt her breath catch. Okay, I'll be leaving Umoma soon, he said. The project is almost done. I'll be heading back to the city. Her chest tightened. Oh, but I don't want to leave without you. Amara looked at him. Come with me, Chinedu said, his voice earnest. There's nothing holding you here. I know we haven't known each other for long, but I've never felt this kind of peace with anyone. Come with me to the city. Let's start something real. Her heart raced. A year ago, the city had felt like a cage. Now, with Chinedu, it felt like a doorway to something new. But her past lay in that city, her name, her legacy, everything she had run from. I don't know, she whispered. I need time. He reached out, gently holding her hand. Take all the time you need. I'll wait. That night, Amara lay on her thin mattress, staring at the ceiling, torn between the life she had escaped and the life that called her forward. Could she trust again? Could she reveal the truth about who she really was? She didn't know that Chinedu too sat in his hotel room, torn by the same storm. Because he wasn't just asking her to come with him. He was David Chinedu Okafor, son of Lagos billionaires and founder of one of Nigeria's biggest tech startups. His workers knew, his project team knew. But Amara, she still believed he was just a humble construction supervisor. He had fallen in love with a girl who reminded him of everything money couldn't buy. And like her, he wasn't sure how long he could keep his truth hidden. The sun had barely risen over Umoma village, yet whispers already swirled through the red earth paths. At the supermarket, Chika Nosu moved with purpose, her usual chatter subdued. Her heart was heavy with jealousy and confusion. She had once believed that Chief Nonso Mba would lift her out of poverty, but his coldness grew sharper each day. All his attention now hovered around Amara, even as she pulled away. Worse still, Amara had captured the heart of Chinedu, the one man who had shown her quiet dignity and respect. Chika's bitterness festered into desperation. Meanwhile, Amara found herself lost in thought, walking the path toward her favorite resting spot by the river. Her heart was torn. Chinedu's offer to take her to the city had stirred fears she wasn't ready to face. Would returning to Enugu mean confronting the life she had fled, the family name, the pressure, the spotlight? She closed her eyes, listening to the water flow over rocks. She longed for freedom, for love that didn't come with conditions. And Chinedu had given her that, or so she thought. That evening, she dressed simply and made her way to their meeting spot. But the quiet night quickly turned chaotic. A group of men were gathered beside a truck parked outside the village telecommunications site, loading up equipment. Amara approached curiously, spotting Chinedu giving instructions in his usual calm, commanding tone. "Careful with the panels, they're sensitive," he said. One of the workers, noticing Amara, smiled and said casually, "Madam, now your husband be this Oga David don't help this village well. Amara blinked. "David?" The worker chuckled. "You no say Oga na David Okafor? The Oga of the whole operation? Na him company they do all this underground fiber work. Na billionaire, madam." Amara's breath caught in her throat. "Billionaire?" She turned slowly to face Chinedu David and saw him freeze, guilt etched across his face. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Chinedu stepped forward. "Yes, but let me explain." She stepped back, trembling. "You lied to me." "I didn't lie," he said, pain in his voice. "I hid the truth. I just wanted to be seen for who I was, not my money, not my name. Just a man trying to find something real." Tears welled in her eyes. "So we were both pretending." Chinedu's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Amara shook her head. "I need time." She turned and walked away, the truth crashing over her like waves. The man she had fallen for was David Okafor, the very same man her father once tried to set her up with. The irony gripped her heart with cruel force. She had run from her world only to find love in it. That night, Amara didn't sleep, nor did Chinedu. Two souls, both broken by the truths they feared would drive the other away. But destiny had only begun to unravel its web. 2 days had passed since Amara Obi discovered Chinedu's true identity, billionaire tech magnate David Chinedu Okafor. In those 2 days, the peaceful air of Umoma had thickened with gossip. Though no one dared say it aloud, whispers filled the market stalls and barbershops. "That construction guy is a billionaire? The sales girl? Nawa-o." But Amara didn't care what the village thought. Her heart was in turmoil. She had loved Chinedu for his simplicity, his humility, his quiet strength. Now everything felt like a performance. Could she trust that his love for her was real? Or was this just another rich man playing with a poor girl's heart? What made it worse was the heavy truth she still carried: she was not poor. She too had hidden her identity. Amara Obi, daughter of Chief Kenneth and Lady Amara Obi, had walked into Chinedu's life pretending to be ordinary. But when she had fallen in love with him, it was as Amara the girl, not Amara the heiress. And now she realized he had done the same. Confused and heartbroken, Amara returned to Enugu City, seeking refuge at her childhood friend Adeze's apartment. Adeze had always known the full story and welcomed her with open arms. "You've both been hiding," Adeze said, pouring her zobo into 2 glass cups. "And yet, you still found each other." Amara sighed. "His mother hates me. She thinks I'm a village girl trying to climb the social ladder." "If only she knew." Adeze leaned forward. "Then tell her, tell him, stop hiding." But before Amara could take that step, Lady Amara Okafor, David's mother, took it for her. A call came through the next morning. Amara answered with shaking hands. "Meet me at the Lux Cafe, alone." Lady Ama's voice was sharp. Later that morning, Amara stepped into the high-end cafe, dressed modestly but poised. Lady Ifeoma was already seated at the corner, her pearls glowing, her eyes like daggers. "You're not fooling anyone," she said coldly. "I know girls like you. You see a wealthy young man and think you've hit the jackpot. Let me make this simple." She slid an envelope across the table. Amara stared at it. "What is this?" "A gift. Take it and disappear. You don't belong in my son's life." The insult stung, but Amara didn't flinch. Instead, she pushed the envelope back. "I don't want your money," she said softly, "and I'm not leaving." Lady Ifeoma's lips curled. "Then you'll regret it. My son doesn't need a girl with no pedigree." Amara stood, her voice calm but powerful. "You're right. Your son doesn't need a girl with no name. But I'm not that girl." She turned and walked away, her decision made. It was time. Time to tell David the truth. That evening, Amara called her parents. "Daddy, Mommy, I need you to come with me to the charity gala at Royal Horizon Hall." "Are you sure?" her mother asked. "Yes, it's time everyone knew who I really am." Across town, David sat alone in his penthouse suite, staring out at the skyline. His heart ached, haunted by her silence. He had risked everything, and now she was gone. But what he didn't know, what no one knew, was that at the gala that night, everything would change. Because two hearts, both hiding, were about to step into the light. Together, the grand chandeliers of Royal Horizon Hall shimmered like diamonds as the elite of Enugu City gathered beneath their glow. The annual charity gala hosted by the Okafors had always been a dazzling event, a gathering of power, wealth, and prestige. Tonight, however, the room carried an undercurrent of curiosity. People whispered. David Okafor came alone. "Is it true he was dating a village girl? I heard she tried to trap him." David Chinedu Okafor stood near the stage dressed in a sleek black tuxedo, but his eyes were distant. He hadn't seen Amara since she walked away. Every moment since had felt like punishment, like he was losing the only person who had ever seen him beyond the fame. His parents mingled with politicians and CEOs, pretending all was well. Lady Ifeoma Okafor held her chin high, confident that the poor girl from Umoma would not dare show her face here tonight. And then the doors opened. Heads turned. Gasps echoed. Amara Obi entered the ballroom in a floor-length emerald green gown, simple yet regal. Her natural hair was styled into a soft crown, and on her arm were none other than Chief Kenneth Obi and Lady Ifeoma Obi, her parents. The room fell silent. Lady Ifeoma Okafor dropped her wineglass. The crash seemed to mark the moment the truth shattered everything. David's heart stopped. His breath caught in his throat. "Emily," he whispered, then corrected himself. "Amara." She approached the stage confidently. The host, startled but delighted, quickly adjusted. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to be joined tonight by Amara Obi, daughter of Chief Kenneth Obi, whose contributions to tonight's charity initiative have been monumental." As the crowd erupted into applause, Amara took the microphone. Her voice was steady, but her heart thundered in her chest. "I was once told that love is not enough, that it must come wrapped in wealth, pedigree, and a last name. But standing here tonight, I know that love is enough if it is honest." She turned toward David. "You met me as a girl working in a supermarket. I met you as a man mixing concrete on a village road. Neither of us knew who the other truly was, but somehow, in that simplicity, we found something real." David stepped forward slowly, his eyes brimming with emotion. "I loved you before I knew your name, and now that I do, I love you even more." Gasps filled the hall. The Okafors stood frozen, but David didn't care. He walked straight to her, took her hand, and kissed her on the forehead. Amara smiled through tears. Lady Ifeoma Okafor's face softened, realizing the irony. The girl she had insulted, the one she had tried to push away, was the same heiress she once dreamed her son would marry. She looked at Lady Ifeoma Obi, who offered a gracious smile and a knowing nod. The past had come full circle. The couple stood beneath the crystal chandeliers, embraced not just by each other, but now finally by truth. No more disguises, no more hiding. Just Amara and David, hearts unmasked, standing in the light. The bells of Cathedral of St. Jude, in the heart of Enugu City, rang out beneath the morning sun, their joyful chimes echoing across rooftops and streets. Inside the grand cathedral, ivory flowers adorned every pew, and the warm scent of jasmine and rose petals filled the air. Guest politicians, celebrities, villagers from Umwoma, even staff from Mama Uju's kitchen had all gathered to witness the union of two souls whose story had quietly moved mountains. At the altar stood David Chinedu Okafor, radiant in a cream-colored agbada embroidered with gold. His eyes never left the aisle, where soon the love of his life would appear. And then she did. Amara Obi, dressed in an elegant lace gown with an embroidered ivory veil, walked down the aisle on her father's arm. Her eyes were fixed on David, but in her heart she carried all the versions of herself, the heiress who was never truly seen. The waitress in Ogwashi, the salesgirl in Umwoma, and the woman who dared to love without fear. As they joined hands before God and witnesses, the priest's words echoed through this cathedral. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. David whispered as he slipped the ring on her finger. I see you, all of you, and I love every part. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. And I choose you not for your name, but for your soul. When they kissed, the entire cathedral erupted in joy. Even Lady Ifeoma Okafor, who once disapproved, dabbed her eyes quietly. Across the aisle, Chikanwosu watched from the back pew, her heart humbled, her gaze soft. She had learned her own lessons, that true worth wasn't worn in wealth, it was carried in the way one loved. Outside, children danced with balloons. Mama Uju served trays of pepper soup and palm wine at the reception, laughing heartily. The villagers from Umwoma cheered, remembering when Amara was just the girl behind the counter. But today she stood not just as an heiress, but as a woman who had fought to live truthfully, to love with courage, and to be loved in return. And as the sun set over Enugu's golden skyline, Amara and David stood on the balcony of their new home, hand in hand, gazing into the future. They had seen each other through shadows and light, masks and truth. And now, in the fullness of day, they walked forward, together.